That first bonus from work just hit your bank account, or maybe your business is finally starting to generate some healthy profits and you want to go out and reward yourself. It's time to buy a new Rolex, obviously. After all, you've arrived. Life is finally opening up its doors for you and you're ready to make your grand entrance. What better way to show the world of your new elevated status than with a Rolex watch on your wrist? But there's a small problem, because nowadays the Rolex clones have gotten so good that just the other day, Wired Magazine had the audacity to walk a $500 fake Rolex into Rolex's own flagship store in London, and the staff didn't call them out for it. They actually adjusted the bracelet, congratulated the journalist on his beautiful watch, then sent him home. And as crazy as that all sounds, they might not even be the real problem nowadays, because fake Rolexes have been around for a while now. In my mind, the real problem is people knowing how good they actually are because of articles like the Wired Magazine article, or Reddit subreddit groups that will remain unnamed in this video, or countless TikTok videos and the YouTube breakdowns showing how close these replicas actually are to the real thing. Now millions and millions and millions of people all around the world not only know that these fakes exist, they know exactly how good they are and how to get them. So now when you see someone with a Rolex on their wrist, you got to wonder, is it even real? And nowadays, chances are pretty high it actually might not be. And for decades, Rolex has positioned itself as the status symbol, a crown for every achievement. One of the very first purchases many people make when they come into some real money a lot of times is actually a Rolex wristwatch. And I know, because that's exactly what I fucking did. And knowing what I know now, would a Rolex be my first luxury wristwatch purchase? Probably not. And that's actually what this video is all about. We're going to cover 5 reasons why a Rolex watch shouldn't be your first luxury watch purchase. And on top of all that, I'm actually going to show you 4 watches you've probably never heard of that'll absolutely give you so much more for your money than your entry-level Rolex would. And you can actually walk into a store right now or go online and buy every single one of them. So strap in. It's going to be a wild ride. And by the way, this is the first time you're actually seeing me. I'm Matthew. This is Grail Matter. And if you're getting into watches, chances are pretty high that you're actually starting to get a little bit frustrated or overwhelmed with all the different options, all the different opinions about what's good, what's not good. But don't worry, because it actually gets much, much, much worse. This whole watch thing is kind of a disease and there's no cure for it. But the whole point of this channel is to try to cut through the marketing and all the stuff that comes with trying to decide whether a watch is actually a good option for you or not, and then put you in a position where you get to make a choice that makes the most sense for you. And if we end up learning some cool stuff along the way or having some fun as well, then even better. So if all of that sounds good to you, I definitely recommend you consider subscribing. Now, my Grail watch was a Rolex Submariner. I know it's cliche, but in my mind, that was the watch for me. And when I started earning what for me kind of felt like real money, I walked into a Rolex AD in Tampa, gave them some money, they handed me a Rolex. I loved that Submariner. And it wasn't just the size, it wasn't just the nostalgia or the features that it had, the fact that I could wear it with a suit or go to the beach and it felt equally at home. It's an icon for a real reason. But then something happened. I started to notice it everywhere. The same watch on the same kind of guy in meetings and restaurants, airport lounges. It almost started to feel like I was wearing some kind of school uniform or something. So the watch that was supposed to feel like I'd arrived started kind of feeling like I just joined some very expensive but not at all exclusive club, but had its own predictable dress code. And then the pandemic happened and I found myself with all kinds of time. I'm at home, generally nothing to do. So I started going down this watch rabbit hole. And the first shocker was discovering that legally Swiss made doesn't necessarily mean everything in the watch is actually made in Switzerland. That's what I thought. And now that whole bubble got burst for me. That's when I realized that China had actually entered the Swiss made chat. And then I discovered super clones. And I couldn't unsee what I was actually seeing, especially after I got treated really horribly at a Miami Rolex AD, even as the owner of 5 Rolexes at that point. And I'll talk more about that in just a second. But I'm going to be frank with you. Now when I see a Rolex or any Rolex on someone's wrist, my first thought is pretty much always, man, these reps are getting really, really good these days. Now, before we get too deep into the weeds here, let me say this. There are many, many, many legitimate reasons to buy a Rolex as your first luxury watch purchase. You're just not going to find them in this video. So to be fair, I'm actually going to do a follow-up video all about why Rolex should be your first luxury watch purchase. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on that one. But for right now, here are the 5 reasons, in my opinion, why a Rolex watch shouldn't be your first luxury watch purchase. Reason number 1, you can't actually buy one. So let's start with the most basic problem as a watch purchaser right now of Rolex. Remember how I said the first Rolex I ever bought was in Tampa, Florida, and I just walked into the Rolex AD, I gave them cash, they gave me a watch, right? Try that today. Those are wishes, my friend. Rolex only pretty much has display models available in stores for you to look at now. It's this new thing that they've been doing since the pandemic. It's like they just love tantalizing us, just dangling the object of desire in front of you, then pulling your dream out from under your feet. Rolex watches actually get allocated by authorized dealers, meaning the AD actually decides who gets to buy it based on purchase history, your relationship with that specific store, maybe sometimes just getting lucky. I was actually passing through an airport on an international flight recently, and I saw the Rolex sign, so I actually went to the store. They only had one watch on display. It was actually not available for sale as well. And you'd think that a Rolex boutique in an international terminal are all actually trying to sell watches. Surprise, that's not what Rolex does these days. So a guy standing at his gate thinking, you know what? I got a long flight ahead of me. I'll just spend $30,000 on a watch to help ease my suffering. She can't do it. Reason number two, what you're actually paying for. So here's a question worth pondering. What's the actual difference between premium and luxury? Rolex makes over 1 million watches a year. That is mass production. A steel Submariner retails around $11,000 at the time of this recording, if you can get one. And a steel date just is around $9,000 retail. Now, these are genuinely really good watches, extremely well made. They're going to last for generations. But at the end of the day, they're steel watches that are mass produced. I'm sorry, that's not what I think of when I think luxury. Premium feels a little bit more truthful about what you're actually getting here. And when we get into just some of the alternative options that you can get in today's watch market for far less money, I think you're going to agree with me. Rolex pricing on these particular models, at least, is just far too high for what you're actually getting. Reason number three, owning a Rolex might not get you what you think it gets you. So this one's a little harder to explain without telling you what actually happened to me personally. And at the beginning of the video, I said I'd talk about my disastrous experience at an authorized dealer in Miami, Florida. So here we go. I'm standing outside that boutique. It's hot. There's a guy in front of me, and I can see that there's some customers inside the store. So we're just basically standing around waiting to be let into the store. And now I appreciate standing in lines like I appreciate the middle economy seat on a long overseas flight. So standing in line is already an egregious experience. And after a few moments, the Rolex employee actually comes up to the door, opens it up, the guy in front of me walks in, and I did the natural thing. I just followed him right on in. And what happened next changed how I see Rolex forever. The employee basically put up her hands and tried to shove me back out through the doorway so that she could shut the door on my face. I'm 6'2" and I'm towering over her, so it's not like she could actually do a whole lot to me physically, but the fact that she even tried just shocked the hell out of me. And what's even crazier is that I'm actually wearing my gold day date at the time. At that point, I got 5 Rolexes, so I'm really committed to this Rolex relationship. And I remember standing on the sidewalk just thinking to myself, like, why have I spent all this money just to be treated like this? The watch is supposed to be a symbol that I've arrived, that doors open for me, not get slammed in my face. Now, are all Rolex employees that aggressive and rude about protecting the whole Rolex exclusivity? Will you get treated like that at a Rolex AD? I don't know. But for me, just one experience like that was enough to make me reconsider why I was buying Rolexes anyways. And personally, I didn't like the answer. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that wanting to have a symbol of status is some kind of character flaw. Wanting to be respected, wanting to signal that you've actually built something significant, that you've achieved something, that's an incredible part about being human. It's hardwired into us. It's hardwired into me. The problem was never actually wanting that. The problem was I let the brand decide what earning that would actually look like. That meant they actually controlled it. It's kind of like renting a trophy. You get to hold it up, but somebody else decides when you have to give it back. And that's actually the whole reason this channel even exists. Not to talk you out of wanting a Rolex or your Grail watch that says that you've actually arrived, because Grails matter. But I think that you should be damn certain about what you're actually purchasing, because it's never just about the watch, no matter what we like to tell ourselves. Reason number 4, they're not guaranteed to go up in value. This is the one that gets repeated the most, and I want to be careful with it because part of it can actually be true. Rolexes have historically held their value better than most watch brands. And if you bought a certain reference at a certain time, it's even possible it actually would appreciate with time. But to say that all Rolexes hold their value or increase in value is simply not true. So when someone tells you that a Rolex is an investment, the question you need to ask is, which reference, bought when, in what condition, with full box, papers, sold into what market? And most people buying their first Rolex aren't thinking about any of them. They're thinking about the story that they were told, that Rolex always goes up in value. That story has a more complicated relationship with the truth than the people selling you that watch might want you to know. The watch salesperson telling you that Rolex is a solid investment is kind of like the casino telling you that gambling is a wealth strategy. Somebody, somewhere might win. is just not likely going to be you. Reason number 5, there are genuinely better options for less money. But my little grasshopper, you clicked on this video, you've made it this far, I shall reward you. Because if what you actually want is a serious watch, something that's well made, something that shows genuine taste, something you could wear every day and feel really fucking great about, there are genuinely so many more exciting options that are not Rolex that might even be arguably better spec'd and will definitely cost you less money than any entry-level Rolex. So here we go. Starting with the Tudor Black Bay 54. Tudor is actually owned by the same foundation that owns Rolex. The Black Bay 54 is a beautifully proportioned 37mm dive watch. And before you think that sounds small, this is the exact case size of the original Submariner that Sean Connery wore as James Bond. Now, I've got a 7-inch wrist, and I find that 37mm is a really great watch size for a lot of different wrists. Inside the watch beats the caliber MT5400. It's manufactured by Tudor and Kinesi. COSC certified, 70-hour power reserve, same as the current Submariner. And from an accuracy standpoint, we're talking about -2 to +4 seconds a day. 200 meters of water resistance, a gorgeous aluminum bezel, dome sapphire crystal, and a design that's wonderfully faithful to the 1954 original, but with those modern specs and engineering that we all expect. Priced at $4,175 on a bracelet. Christopher Ward, the 12X, is next up. This is the one that's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about what a watch should cost. Christopher Ward is a 20-year-old British brand that has been making some serious waves in the watch world lately. In my opinion, the 12X in titanium is one of the most interesting watches you can buy right now, period. It's 41mm in grade 2 and grade 5 titanium, which means the whole thing is incredibly light on your wrist. The movement is the in-house Christopher Ward caliber SH21. It's COSC certified chronometer, and here's where it gets actually really fun. It's got 120 hours of power reserve. That's 5 days. The Rolex Submariner gives you 70 hours. Christopher Ward gives you almost 2 full days more. But the real story is what you can actually see with your eyes, because the movement is skeletonized. So it's open work, so you can actually watch it operate through dome sapphire crystal on the front and the back. The bridges are machine polished using diamond cutters on CNC equipment so precise that the finish is nearly indistinguishable from hand finishing. And there's a micro adjust mechanism on the butterfly clasp. It's actually a feature that until recently you'd only find in watches like Vacheron Constantin overseas, which costs about 10 times more than this one. Price for this at the time of recording, $5,895. Christopher Ward is honestly making a mockery of value to price at this point. It's kind of like finding a Michelin quality chef that opened up a food truck and still charging fast food prices. You don't question the food, you question why everyone else feels that they can charge so damn much. Next up, Atelier Wen, Perception V3. Atelier Wen is actually a French-Chinese brand. And before you let that word Chinese do whatever it was about to do in your little head, in your little brain, hear me out. The Perception V3 costs $4,850. Case is 904L stainless steel, same grade as Rolex uses for the Submariner. The movement is a French-made Pekingnier EPM03. Chronometer grade accuracy, 65-hour power reserve, regulated to an average of ±2 seconds per day across 6 positions and 3 temperatures. That actually exceeds COSC standard. They just didn't bother paying for the certificate. And then there's that beautiful dial, that hand guilloche engine turned by hand by a master craftsman named Cheng Yukai, the first recognized guilloche master in China. Every single dial is slightly different because it's being made by a human, of course, and you got 5 layers of anti-reflective coating on the sapphire crystal. Flip the watch over, and through the display case back, you actually can enjoy this movement bridges that are shaped in traditional Chinese wind patterns, filled with blue aventurine lacquer. Or maybe you prefer to go with something a little dressier. So here's a bonus. Be sure to check out the Ancestra. Same French movement, 38mm case, but the dial is that Grand Faux enamel. It's actually powdered glass, hand applied onto a hand-hammered 925 silver base, fired in a kiln at around 750 degrees multiple times with a roughly 50% failure rate. Each dial takes about 20 days to complete, has baguette cut diamonds set into the enamel, and the Chinese calligraphy by Hong Kong artist Elaine Wang on the hour markers. And one of my favorite little details about the movement plate on this watch is it's actually engraved with a piece of Chinese poetry that's over 2,000 years old. This watch is $5,850. By the way, if you want to get a sneak peek at where watchmaking is likely headed in the future, not where it's been the last 50 years, these 2 watches are a really strong place to start. Last but not least, we have the Serica 5303-3. This is a French-designed, Swiss-made dive watch with an aesthetic that's all its own. And there's several different options from Serica for the 5303, but the 5303-3 is my favorite. It's a 39mm dive watch with a dual crown internal rotating bezel, a bezel choice you almost never see at this price point, by the way. And the case has these sweeping lyre lugs that recall vintage Omega, but with a silhouette that's uniquely Serica. 300 meters of water resistance, double dome sapphire crystal, anti-magnetic to over 50,000 AM. And a screw-down crown that's oversized on purpose because someone at Serica actually felt like it would matter to actually have a great experience when winding a watch. The movement is Swiss Soprod M100, which is COIC chronometer certified, 42-hour power reserve, hacking, and hand winding on this piece. And then, of course, there's that sublime crystal blue ceramic bezel insert. In person, it has this almost translucent pale blue quality like a chalcedony stone. It's one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see on a watch under 5 figures, let alone under $2,000. Because that's what this watch costs, roughly $1,650 at the time of this recording. Oh, and I better not forget that Milanese mesh bracelet that's so luxurious and comfortable that some reviewers have actually described it as a sensual experience. All this for about 1/6 of the Submariner's retail price. So there you have it, 5 reasons to think a little harder when you're considering whether Rolex should be your first luxury watch. And I want to be clear about something before I go. This video is absolutely not an attack on Rolex. What Rolex has built, what they have achieved, the recognition, the quality, the desirability, the fact that it's the first name that someone says when you ask them to picture a serious watch. It's one of the most impressive brand achievements in the history of consumer products, period, point blank. And wanting a serious watch to mark a significant moment in someone's life, wanting something on your wrist that says you've earned it, that's a serious, significant choice. That's not manufactured either. Humans have been doing that since before Rolex ever existed. We've wanted to show our accomplishments. But what I'm saying is maybe the question for someone who wants to buy their first luxury watch shouldn't be, which Rolex am I getting? Maybe because of all the options that are out there, it's worth considering which watch should I want if I actually knew that the other options even existed. Not what does the internet say I should want, not what's on the wrist of the guy in the next office, not what James Bond wore 40 years ago. What do you actually want? And if you ask that honestly and the answer is still Rolex, then hey, I respect that. Go buy it. But it's worth considering first. And remember, everything I just said has another side. There are real significant and specific reasons why Rolex has earned the position it has. And I'm actually working on that follow-up video to this. 5 reasons why Rolex should be your first luxury watch. So if you've enjoyed the video so far, be sure to subscribe, click the bell icon to be notified when that video actually goes live. Watch both of them and then decide if this is still the direction you want to go, buying that Rolex as your first luxury watch. I'm Matthew. This is Grail Matter. I'll see you in the next one.